What's up, y'all? This is Zachary, and you're now tuned in to Not Another Business Podcast. Welcome to episode 12. In this episode, I talked to my friend Garry about his journey, where he came from and where he is now, some of the things that he's achieved and some of the things that he's looking to achieve in the next couple of years. We had a really good conversation, and it's a really inspiring conversation, especially if you're in a situation where you're looking to grow and you're looking to get better, whether it's with your fitness, with your eating, or with life in general. This episode is definitely for you, and I hope you enjoy it. I hope you get as much value out of it as I did communicating with him. So without further ado, here's episode 12, Unlock Your Brain. So let's start off with a quick introduction. Who is Coach Garry and what motivates you? So let's just start with who are you? Like, introduce yourself.
So my name is Garry Sanon. I am an entrepreneur. I'm a thinker, I'm a leader, I'm a family man. I've spent the past 20 years working in health and wellness. I've had an opportunity to have a long career, and I've gone from internship in college to working for different high-end gyms. I've worked for both the nonprofit and for-profit sector to now being a business owner where I've been able to actually employ other people. I've been a mentor. And what I really pride myself on, and I really take a look back at what I've done, I really had the opportunity, to change lives and, just make a great impact. What motivates me every single day is going to be legacy. I want to leave a mark on this earth. I want to be able to touch lives. I just feel like we all have a certain timeline, so we're born and there's the date of expiration for that timeline. Mm-hmm. And what we do in between, that's what really matters. And as long as at the date of expiration, we can say, hey, we left this world in a better place, or at the very least, we tried to leave this world in a better place, I think it leaving a long-lasting legacy. So for me, on a daily basis, that's what really motivates.
Damn, that's dope, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that. And I can also attest to you motivating and helping as many people as you can, because I can honestly say you changed my life in 2018. Till this day, actually, I still eat pretty much the same stuff that you had broken down for me in a list to help me in my weight gain journey, and everything worked out, and it was just one of the greatest moments of my life. It started with Malik, and I give him a lot of props for that himself. And then when we both decided to take that next step and get the trainer, like, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little skeptical about it. I'm like, I guess we'll just go and spend some money or whatever. Like, I didn't really care for it. But once we started, it was like, oh my God, like, this is real deal. Like, this is real life.
I appreciate that, man. Like, that definitely, that motivates me also. It makes me more confident in what I'm doing. And it just makes me feel good, just like as a person, especially too, like, it's been years, since, we worked together, and, just hearing that, like, that you've continued on, still utilize like a lot of the stuff that we worked with, and a lot of stuff I taught you, it just, solidifies like, hey, you know what, like, I am making a difference. I have to do that. Because especially, as an entrepreneur, I mean, this also too, it's like, sometimes like, that self-doubt will creep in. Mm-hmm. And then it's just like these little reminders is what's like, what really pushes you to just keep going. And just keep moving forward, and just, know that like, hey, you know what, you are actually doing the things that you set out to do. you may not see it. It's just like, when we train and stuff like that, it's like every single day it was a grind. Every single day we were working. And then, you may notice some differences, but then there's going to be one day where it's like, well, this is actually really working.
Mm-hmm. This conversation is such an important conversation, and we could really go on all day and actually talk about it, because we could get to talking about really getting your head in the game and actually motivate. That's why I even asked you, like, what motivates you in the morning, to do what you do, because like you said, you've been doing this for a while, and that hit me by surprise, even in 2018 when you told me how long you've been doing this, to be at that point. And I really credit myself, like, being a coach to you. Like, I credit that to you, because
that's what I said, like that, like all of the people that I work with, you should know enough, like you're a trainer. So when you're on the fitness floor, you have a different type of knowledge base, because for me, it's not just about counting out reps. And I always say this, like, there's a major difference between being a trainer and a coach, right? Mm. So the coach is going to be the one that inspires you, motivates you. They're going to leave a lasting impact. You're never going to forget. You're never going to forget the lessons that were taught. Training, anybody can be a trainer. Anyone can put on a shirt and start counting out reps. Mm-hmm. But the stuff that we went through, it can't be on top. You'll never forget it. That's why, like, even when I'm sure you may go to like gyms and, you'll see other folks like training and stuff like that, and you'll be like, nah, that ain't right. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because you've learned the difference between doing it the right way versus doing it the wrong way. Yeah. Applying the right type of effort also too. When we go through our sessions, the amount of effort that was put there is transferable in life. It's not just about the workouts to change. Like you said, it changes your mindset. It changes your understanding and your vision of what is actually really capable. Now, stuff that's hard inside of the gym and stuff that we would push through, it's like now you have an extra layer of resiliency that when you go ahead and you step out into your field, I see you coaching this year, you're putting yourself out there. Even with the podcast, you're putting yourself out there. Why? Because, you have a different type of mindset that you want to walk in. And it's like, I've already been through failure, and I pushed past that particular barrier on a physical standpoint. And then now that I can do it physically, and the reason why you're able to push past some barriers is because you tapped into a different portion of your brain that just told you that, nah, I can't quit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with a good session, with a good mentor, a good coach, you unlock different parts of your brains that you never even knew existed, and those things will, carry you on to the future as a brand new person. Like you were like, who's this guy? Like, what?
Unfortunately, like a lot of times, like with training and not knocking what like other people do, but a lot of times, like what trainers will do is like they just they'll only teach you so much because they want to constantly keep you around, and they want to keep you in the state of like, I need this person, I need this person, I need this person. I think everybody needs a trainer, right? Everybody needs a trainer, needs a coach. But the difference with what I did is because I'm really passionate about the teaching side of things. And don't get me wrong, the workouts are hard. I have a different understanding of anatomy and physiology, so it's like it gives me a lot more. Plus the actual experience of being, in the gym. Like I was in the trenches doing every single thing that I would have my clients do. I've done myself. Yeah. Or I've done it a lot of times at a greater level. Mm-hmm. So for me, it wasn't about having you guys need me all the time, because I wanted us to be independent. Yeah. And I want us to, if you ever walked away from the training, to be like, well, you know what? I don't ever need another coach again. Mm-hmm. So for me, it was more so about, my philosophy is to teach people enough to the point where they're self-sufficient. But because the teaching is so good, they're going to always want you around. Oh, yeah. Not need you every single second, but they're going to want more knowledge. They're going to want to be pushed more. They're going to want a greater level of understanding. And that is a greater relationship because it's going to be something where it's not like it's forced. And I know, like, let's say, we didn't work together ever again. I know you know how to get in shape.
Yep.
I know you know how to push yourself. I know you know how to put together workouts for yourself.
Yep.
I know you know how to put together a diet for yourself. I know I did my job.
Yep. And that's the thing. That's the amazing part about the brain and the physical aspect of it, of the human body, is like once you unlock certain level of your brain, it's gonna make you want to know and learn and unlock more parts of your brain. It's like once you start getting to that level, it's up from there because you're gonna consistently look forward to actually unlocking more parts of your brain, because you're gonna feel like, oh my God, like I thought I couldn't bench press 225. I just bench press 225 2 weeks in a row, and then you're gonna realize, like, I never thought I could squat. Nowadays I'm squatting like 305. Like I never used to do legs in my workouts. Nowadays, like, I look forward to a good leg day. If I do a leg day and then I'm not crawling out the gym, like, I'm not satisfied. So that part of your brain just consistently working and just consistently calling you in and saying, like, remember how you felt? Remember how you felt when you had that really good workout that challenged your mind, that challenged your thinking? And like you said, like, even like you can take that onto your real life. Don't get me wrong. Insecurities and doubts and all that kind of stuff creeps in every second. But the same way when you're in the gym and you're working out and then you push yourself for another set, another rep, more weight, all of that, you can use that in your day-to-day lifestyle. With that, we'll segue into talk about the steps you took to actually get to this moment. Talk to me about those steps you took to get to this point, and even highlighting your business now too. Like, you're a business owner. So let's get into that.
So this has really been a lifelong journey for me. So, if I think really back where this started from, this started as a kid. When I was probably in 4th or 5th grade, where I picked up my first bodybuilding magazine. So my first bodybuilding magazine, I just saw these freaks, Jay Cutler, Ronnie Coleman, Dexter Jackson, Kevin Lavone. I just saw these guys in the magazines, and I always gravitated towards that. To the point where I remember in 4th grade, I wanted to get my first weight set. And, my mom was like, you're too young. I don't want you to, to be lifting weights. I just saved up all my allowance. And this is how far back it was. It was when Sears was around. I saved up my allowance, went to Sears, and then I picked up the weight set. She said, I'm not gonna buy it for you. I said, don't worry about it, I have my own money. And I spent my money, all my allowance money. I saved it for weeks. I spent all my allowance money on my first weight set. I didn't know what I was doing, but I would be, curling. I'd be doing presses. And, I just really enjoyed it at a very, very young age. I was obese as a kid. In 6th grade, I went and saw a dietitian. I got recommended to see a dietitian, and she taught me.
6th grade?
6th grade. Okay. I was obese. So in 6th grade, I had size 42 pants.
Oh my God.
No lie. I was as tall as I was wide. And so yeah, I saw the dietitian. Changed my life. That's what set me on this course. Like, officially, that's what really set me on this course, because I remember, she taught me how to eat correctly. She was a great teacher. She was a great coach, and never made me feel bad about where, how big I was. Always was encouraging. Encouraged me to join the gym, encouraged me to work out. I ended up joining the YMCA. Let's say I was probably about 200 pounds, 190 pounds. By the time I was my freshman year, I was probably about 160 pounds my freshman year.
Wow.
And I just learned, it was just basically learning how to eat correctly, being a lot more active. So I started at a very young age. Fast forward, had great coaches in high school. They were motivators, like intense. Like our program in high school was like a college program.
Everett High School, right? You went to Everett
I went to Everett High School. So still to this day, they're still, one of the best, teams in the state.
Yeah.
But I remember going up there when I was in 7th and 8th grade and watching the older guys sprinting. A couple of the guys were, they ended up playing in the NFL. So seeing that visually at a young age, and always thinking about, aspiring to that also. I was more in love with the training side of things and understanding that than I was the actual sport. That's what I realized. And that's what got me going to college. I got my degree in exercise science, had great internships, where I was really able to hone my skills, becoming, a coach at a very young age. I was a basketball coach, went into working for different gyms. I worked for a high-yield gym in Boston. I also worked at a YMCA. My career went from, working at a nonprofit. After working at a high-end gym, I worked at a nonprofit where it was exclusive just for seniors, where I did all the fitness and nutrition programs. That really is what, really started to change my mindset towards longevity. Because I saw, up until that point, I was all about, I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach for the Patriots. That was my goal. So it's all about that side of things, athletics, functional training, learning how to be more explosive, training for more stability, training for your sport. I was all about that. And then once I worked with the seniors, it just opened my eyes to how much of an impact you can make. I did that exclusively for 8 years. I ended up winning a national award for it. And really just making a difference in that population, because it wasn't really a population, one, that we studied a lot in school. And then two, it wasn't really presented as this being a career. So tapping into that, I think, really that's what allows me to literally work with every single population. I know that some people, may fixate just on working with women, or some people may just fixate, on, working with athletes. Because I've worked every single population from youth athletics, to pre and postnatal. I've taken, multiple women from the point of them planning their pregnancy all the way through their pregnancy to the point where they didn't have a baby, one of my clients didn't have a babysitter, so I'm holding her baby as I'm training her at the same exact time. Not a lot of people can say that they've worked with the full gamut, even working with people, at the end stages of life, terminal illness, stroke survivors, diabetes, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis. I've seen it all, and I've worked with it all. So I'm very confident in saying that, hey, you know what, I can work with anybody.
Yeah.
So prior to the pandemic, so that kind of gives you a background as far as my career. Prior to the pandemic, I was an area fitness manager. I was running a couple gyms in the Back Bay area. Obviously, we know the pandemic shut everything down.
Yeah.
And, that's where the switch just turned on in my head, because I never put my eggs in one basket. So I always kept clients on my own throughout every stage of my career. That was the first time in the 20 years where I didn't have my clients on the side, or clients that I was already working with. I was all in on the management side, because I really wanted to understand. Obviously we met at
Workout World.
Workout World,
yeah,
right. And I was managing there. When I left there, I left to go manage those other gyms.
Yeah,
and I was really all in on the management side of things, because I wanted a better understanding of how to really run a gym. Like I fully understood how to train, how to mentor, how to be a good coach, how to mentor like other trainers. But all the ins and outs of running a business, understanding profit and loss, understanding goal setting, understanding how to motivate people to be able to hit their particular quota and their goals, sales. Like I had a good understanding of sales, but how to coach other people to be good at sales. That's why I really went into management, because my mindset was I need to figure out if I want to own a boutique studio, or if I want to own a bigger box gym, if I want to own a chain gym. I was really in that stage of my career where it was like, I have to figure out what path I'm going to take, because no matter what, like I need to be able to go out on my own. The pandemic really changed everything for me. Reason being is because, the gym shut down and I didn't have a client base. But my thing is like, I pride myself on being a good entrepreneur, being a good salesman, being able to grow from the ground up. So I just looked at it as a challenge. And I was like, let me take a step back and start to think about what I want to do for the rest of my life. And how I want to work. Like it doesn't make sense for me what I was doing beforehand, where I was leaving, sometimes in the morning at 6 o'clock in the morning, coming home at nighttime, sometimes at 10 o'clock at night, and that being like a life. It didn't allow me to live. It's a life, but it doesn't allow me to live. And, I just wanted more freedom of time. I wanted the opportunity to be able to tap into other interests, because, health and wellness is definitely my main passion, right? That was my main passion. It gave me purpose, and then it allowed me to feed myself for the past 20 years. So I feel blessed to be in the industry. I feel blessed to have that opportunity. And say, for the most part of my career, I showed up to work in shorts and in a t-shirt. Shorts and a jersey or whatever. And that's a blessing. And being able to say, hey, what, I actually really impacted people. But, I started to take a look at it, and I was like, I was burning myself out, and I was giving so much that I wasn't giving enough to myself. So during the pandemic, I just, I started taking a look at like, everything that was going on, a lot of civil unrest, people getting out of shape, people getting, more depressed. Like, we saw all the residual effects of being isolated. So like, I'm going to do something about it. I started reaching out to people, and, I started doing some virtual training. And I never would have thought, like, beforehand, I only thought about being a business owner and, having to be inside of a place,
right?
Having to do that type of grind. So the virtual training thing really picked up. And then, a couple of my people asked me about meeting in person. And obviously, like, we had a social distance and so I had some equipment of my own. A couple colleagues that I had worked with prior, they had gyms and they were closing their gyms down. They lost their businesses. So I was like, that may not be something that I necessarily want to do. So I ended up buying up their equipment. And then from there, that's how I started like the outdoor classes. So it started with, maybe 3 to 5 people. To the end of it, I mean, you came to the class, like 20 people in the class. And, setting up stations that were far apart, allowing people to just interact. When you came to my classes, all different people from all different areas, because I had clients from, all different areas of Massachusetts. So it's one type of person. It wasn't just one type of area. It started gaining traction. I realized that like a large aspect of the business is the promotion side of things. So I spent, money on videographers. I spent money on photographers. Every single weekend when we had classes, like a production, we were promoting, utilizing social media, having other folks, tagging us and, having the right type of music, having the right type of vibe, even having people get the opportunity to promote their businesses while coming to our classes. So we have people connecting, doing business together. We reached out to anybody, friends, family, former clients, to try to get them to come down through health fairs, did a lot of connections with different businesses. And even from there, I was able to start and do other projects in other industries.
Yep.
I was able to do stuff in media. I was able, to do some stuff as far as like helping people with their own startups. Yep. And providing consulting services. And what I realized and what I needed to do was just to really write down all my skill sets and write down all my interests. And I spent a lot of time learning. YouTube University. Spent a lot of time with Arnie Elysia. A lot of time taking lunches, business meetings, calls, so that I could pick people's brains in different industries that I was interested in. Real estate investing being one of them.
Definitely a whole lot. And, with the pandemic, a lot of major business owners and gurus and stuff will tell you when things get tough is when true entrepreneurs and true business people actually flourish. When it gets tough like that, that's when they really flourish, because like we talked about, like unlocking your brain. Once you do that, you realize like, okay, you don't look at anything as a downside. You look at it as a, opportunity to learn more. And that's exactly what you did when the pandemic happened, because during the pandemic, it was for the very first time ever, that's when people were literally desperate to exercise, because we did not realize what we had until we no longer had it. A gym membership that was open even 8 to 5 or 8 to 4 was like the one thing that we realized, like, oh my God, this was that important in my life. And some of it, people weren't really going, but it was just like, I hate the fact that I can't go to the gym right now and go get a workout because I'm home and I'm bored. I hate that I can't see my old pals that I used to work out with. So at that moment, virtually working out and like virtually training somebody shot up in demands. People were looking for a way. And I remember one thing you said, which was so dope. It was like, if you have pots and pans at your house, you have gym equipments, and all of that stuff worked out for you, and that's the amazing thing about life and business in general, is like every single thing in this life that you're living is gonna turn into an opportunity that's going to help you. And that's why I tell people, like, this is what this podcast is about. It's about highlighting those moments, those losses that truly define your business and your character, who you are as a person. And you've highlighted all of those. Like, I remember your events. I call them events because it was beyond that. It was a time, especially during the pandemic. Like, it was like, oh my God, a chance to go see other people, a chance to work out with Garry, a chance to work out with other like-minded folks that are just bored at home and looking for a way out. Oh, I'm in. I'm signing up right now. When is he coming to, East Boston next? Or when is he going to Quincy? Wherever he's going, I'm going there. That time when I went there, I went all the way to Quincy, and I'm in Malden. So I drove down there because I was like, I'm not missing this for nothing. Because this is an opportunity for me to learn, to get around people, even though it's social distancing. Hey, that was life at that point.
It was, it was a lot of learning, and every single aspect of it, I appreciate. Like when I sat back, when I really think about it, and I'm like, what it took to just put on that class, like literally we had, it was just my girlfriend and I, and thank God, like, I had her support, where we're carrying in every single one of those weights, barbells, free weights, we're setting up a class, an hour and a half before we get there. Mm-hmm. And then when we leave, because we want everyone to be comfortable, we breaking down all that stuff on our own. Like, we have people help us out. But for the most part, it's like you're breaking down a lot of that stuff on our own. So it was like, 3 hours, of just like trying to get the class set up, breaking that stuff down. And then, coming from where we came from, it wasn't like, where we coach was like around the block. So it was a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
And, it makes me appreciate so much where I'm at right now, because right now, 95% of my business is online and virtual training clients.
Mm-hmm.
So it allows me to be able to move around. It allows me to be able to travel. It allows me to be able to, invest in other places and try other industries out. The journey was worth it. And I always say, the process is the reward. It's what you learn along the way as you're traveling.
Yep.
That's your reward.
Mm-hmm. And I can totally get behind that, because it's very misleading out there. A lot of people, business owners, whatever, they sell you on this 1-2 step, right? They sell you on this like easy 1 to 3. And, you get in, you jump in, and then some of them too, they sell you on the jump in head first, and then it'll be 1, 2, 3, bam, you're done. You're good. Guarantee. Nah, it ain't like that. These things are really, passion. You really got to be passionate about. And I can hear a lot of that passion and the way you're breaking these things down. Because I know for a fact, dealing with people, teaching people and their insecurities and all that kind of stuff, shoot, there's a lot of us that would not have survived the first week of training. Hell, I found out in the gym, a lot of times, when you're really getting paid kind of on an hourly basis when you work in the gym. So it's you going to the gym and you work, you're training somebody. It's you got to have that passion to really sit there and take on these new clients and really helping the gym out more than you're helping yourself. I can see why that's not happening, because in the end, it's who am I really doing this for? I'm doing this for the gym. Well, I don't really care about the gym. I'm just here for the paycheck.
That's where the difference is, because of my story. I started this young, and it was someone else that changed my life. And that was my thing. I was I want to give people that feeling. Mm-hmm. I'm so fixated on that. It's I want to give people that feeling, because the empowerment that I felt, being able to control and being able to know that I can make that change, and it wasn't just physical, it was mental. I put my mind to something. I wasn't all throughout school. I'll tell you right now, throughout school, I wasn't a great student. Mm-hmm. I wasn't a great student, but what I knew I was good at this field.
Yeah.
I knew I belonged in this field.
Yeah.
Because it was ingrained in me from the time that I was younger that I didn't have a plan B. I didn't say, well, I'm going to do something else. I knew I was going to be in health and wellness. It started off being a dietitian. And then from there, I said I was going to be a strength and conditioning coach, which I ended up doing. And then from there, I was well, I just want to be the top trainer. I did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from there, it's well, I want to be a business owner. I'm doing that.
Yeah.
So all I kept doing was reinventing where I was at. And it was I spent a certain amount of time in each phase where I just really studied. A lot of people don't have the patience to be able to study and be able to fail.
Yeah.
Failure takes patience. Why? Because in order to get yourself out of that portion of failing, there has to be understanding. And in order to get to the point of understanding, you got to spend a lot of time learning.
Yeah.
And during that learning phase, what are you doing? You're failing and then trying again, failing and then trying again. You're figuring stuff out. And a lot of people don't want to be there. So when we talk about folks that are just going through the motions, because you're not really in it for the right reasons. You're not really passionate about it. Or you might have lost your passion along the way. For me, I didn't care if it was me working for $10, no dollars, or $250.
Mm-hmm.
I approach it the same exact way, and I approach everybody the same exact way.
I can attest to that.
At the end of the day, you represent yourselves.
Right.
It doesn't matter where you're at, what job you're in. You represent yourself. At the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. At the end of the day, you have to be a judge for yourself, and you have to answer to yourself. If you don't have that type of mentality, you definitely don't have the mentality to be an entrepreneur. And I don't care what field you're in, you got to reevaluate yourself, because you might not have the mindset to truly be successful, because you're not looking, you're looking at stuff in a narrow lens.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, your name is your name.
Yeah. And it's all about leaving a mark. Like, what, like you said, what do you want to be remembered as? You want to remember as this one trainer that has this experience, right? Because a lot of people get a trainer because they just want to say that I had a trainer once, and that's it. The conversation stops there. They don't talk about the experience, how well, what they learned. And the majority of them don't even remember what they trained on. But another thing too, I forgot to mention is, like, I still go back and look at the Google Sheet you set up. I still go back to that. I look at it, and I've actually helped people using that Google Sheet. And look at it, I'm like, because of how much I understand the process now, because of what I've been taught, I'm able to go back in and say, you know what, I can remove some of that. All right, boom, boom, boom. All right. Hey, this is what you can do to get started. And I've had people actually go in and like get started with that. Of course, they're not consistent with like a trainer, like with someone like you, or I'm not getting paid for it, so I'm not contacting it anything. So I'm not going back in and actually like managing it down the line. But I'm like, hey, you can really do this. If you really want to, you want to test yourself and you want to challenge yourself, here, I'll help you out. And then that's when you really see whether or not they're willing to challenge themselves. And some of them do, some of them don't. You got to have standards for yourself. That's really important. I think we a lot of us are lacking that in the community and in this generation altogether. Like, people are not setting standards for themselves. I know nowadays it's like we talk about this, like not being loyal to anything, not doing this, like whatever, like go looking for the next best thing. But a lot of that is really setting you for failure, because you're unable to set up standards for yourself. You're unable to set up consistency. And if you're getting yourself used to inconsistency, guess what's going to happen in your career? A lot of inconsistencies.
I see both sides of things, but there's something to be said for sticking it out when things get tough. Like, I've sat in rooms where I literally felt like the dumbest person.
Mm-hmm.
And I could easily be like, oh, this is stupid, or, they don't understand me, or this is too hard, so I'm going to go do something else. I stuck with it. That's where it does. You know how I always say, stay with it. That's what it is. That's where it came from.
Yeah.
Because it was like, what would I have learned if I just ran away?
Yeah.
Where would my career have gone? That's the purpose in being in any field, is to be challenged. And you learn so much about yourself once you're challenged. Once you're challenged and you're forced to actually, you're forced to learn more, you're forced to do more, you're forced to be more. That's when you really understand if something's really for you. That's when you really understand if you really have the heart to do something. Mm-hmm. Even in my journey, like with entrepreneurship, everything, like the class, when you see it on Instagram, it looked like a movie. So one of my clients that used to come to class, she's like, yeah, I saw it on Instagram and it looked like a movie, and you see it like slow mo. But then when you get there, she's like, you really out here cooking people out.
Yeah.
And it's like, and you can talk about that with any field, like you said. Like, these people want to show the pretty picture, but they're not showing when I and carrying all those heavy weights and sweat, my back hurts, my joints hurt, and then right after doing that, I gotta go to the gym again to do a workout so I could do another shoot, so I could do a promo on a drop, and then go somewhere else to go do an interview. And this is all within one day.
Yeah, and that's why people give up. That's why
it's hard.
It's hard, right? That's why a majority of people give up. I would potentially consider giving up if I was a trainer, like within the first week. Mm-hmm. At that point, like, obviously it would be a different challenge for me. Like, I would probably approach in a different sense, but on the surface right now, looking at it, I'm like, shoot, I probably would give up because I'm not sitting there and dealing with all these people's emotions and insecurities and body dysmorphia and all that kind of stuff. Like, I'm not dealing with that every single day. Well, it's like you come here to get to live a better lifestyle, right? You come here to do something better, right? Then allow me to teach you, or allow yourself to go on this journey. But then you have the brain is a crazy, platform. Like it's wild in there.
It's true, Martin. You got to get, and that's like with anything. Like you have to, and that's one of the things I learned. Like my mom, she's a teacher. Or let me take that back. My mom was an educator, because again, there's a difference between a teacher and an educator.
Right.
And where I learned my teaching style from was from watching my educator in front of me. And she made everybody want to learn. And she gave everybody the opportunity to feel like they could learn. Even when other teachers, she was the person who got all the students that they would give up. This person's bad, and this person, or they can't learn, or they're a distraction. My mom took all those kids. She taught special needs. She took all those kids and made sure they sat down and they learned.
Yep.
And the amount of people that would come back, I remember just as a young kid, because I was in the same school as her, and I would see older kids coming back to thank her. And when they walk in, they take off their hat. They pick their pants up. But when they go into with these other teachers, they don't treat them the same way. Why? Because you have respect.
Yeah.
My mom's 5 feet tall. But I would see dudes 6 feet, 300 pounds, like come in and they have have a respect.
Yeah.
And I just realized like it's not about dominating people. It's not about trying to show how much I know. It's trying to get you to understand what you need to know. And that's a major difference in terms of like being an educator, being a coach. It's like, I'm going to meet you at that level. You're having a bad day. All right, cool. I'm having a bad day with you, but we're going to finish these sets.
Right. Hey, so what's your current schedule like? How do you balance yourself, your clients, your business?
So I use a block schedule. I schedule everything out.
You need to do that.
So, I know what I need to do on a daily basis. I set particular weekly goals. It's just like, I break down business the same way that I would break down training. Like you have everything on a sheet, except now I just have everything in my calendar. So the time that I'm going to work out, I have that particular time. The schedule that I eat at, I have basically the same exact schedule that I eat at on a daily basis. Client wise, on a low day, I'm training 4 clients. On a busy day, I'll train 8 to 10 clients. I try to have a couple days, where it's just those long days, and it coincides with the days that I take off from training. Because I make sure that if I'm not on go, then everything doesn't work. My clients' motivation aren't the same. If I don't rest enough, if I'm not getting my workouts in, it's not the same. When I'm motivated and I'm pushing myself and I'm on point with my schedule, guess what? Attitude reflects leadership.
Yeah.
I can't look at my clients and tell them to do one thing that I'm not doing myself. So my schedule, like I said, it'll vary. But I always block off time for me to work out. I block off time for me to eat. I block off time, for me to spend time, with my girlfriend, with my loved ones, to communicate with people. I have certain times that I'm doing my scheduling. I have certain times that, I'm doing the programming on a weekly basis where I'm updating everybody's charts. Typically I do that on the weekend. So I just apply a system. So the same way when people go into the gym, you can go into the gym haphazardly and just do stuff. And doing something is going to be better than doing nothing. Is it going to be as efficient if you have a plan and you have these are the specific movements that I'm doing for the day. This is how I execute those particular movements. These are the particular sets, reps. This is what I'm going to do on a weekly basis to be able to progress. One of my buddies, he taught, I'm going to connect you with him also, but top 50 financial advisors in the United States. He won an award for it, right? So this was after one of my bodybuilding competitions. He's like, Garry, you look crazy. And he's like, if you applied everything, the way that you're so meticulous with your training and the way that you are so meticulous with your diet and all that stuff, like the way you break everything down, he's like, if you did that in business, you know you'd be a millionaire, right?
Billionaire.
Okay, it's the same exact system.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the pandemic that it made sense.
It's interesting because hearing you speak about that and even what your buddy told you, it's one thing that I have struggled with for so long because I can be very disciplined. I am very meticulous also about like certain things and about my life in general. But my issue, like what I struggle with a lot of times, like planning things ahead of time, like you explained. I just can't do that, man. And I know a lot of people are in the same situation, especially with you know, the meals and the meal prepping and everything. So is there anything you could actually like kind of explain for that? And like, you know, if somebody else is hearing this all right now and saying like, I wish I could plan my meals and fitness and everything in the same way. Is there any pointers like how to go about that? Like even from getting started to really getting into that point where we're like, damn, like I can't believe nowadays I'm planning my week ahead of time like this.
The first thing is just to identify what your purpose is. Because I think a lot of people want to do something, but there's no sentiment, there's no meaning behind it. Like you have to have a greater purpose that's going to drive you to be able to do that particular thing. That's when that thing means something to you. So unless you have a particular purpose, like, you know, if I talk to a parent, for example, and they tell me they don't want to work out, simple question. Do you care about your kids? Who's going to answer no?
No one.
You want to be around for your kids.
Of course they're going to say yeah.
Do you want them to see you suffer when you get old? So how can you be selfish and not work out? You see what I'm saying? That's just one example. You have to rationalize with yourself in a way where it's like it means something to you. You know? If you're struggling with your confidence, if you could do one thing right now that's going to improve your confidence, it's going to improve, and I guarantee you it's going to improve your confidence. Would you do that thing? Who's going to say no? Like it's one thing right now that you can change. 100% guaranteed it's going to improve your confidence. Would you do that thing?
Absolutely.
So why wouldn't you work out if you really want to improve your confidence?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? It can't just come from like, well, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this to get in shape for the weekend. I'm trying to do this. Okay, my girl looks this way. Like none of that means anything. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to be accountable to that thing because there's not a deeper meaning behind it. Like me getting up and having this plan and working so hard as far as like the health and wellness business, because I got that feeling when I was in 6th grade that it never left me. Yeah. It's always inside of me that I wanted. That's that thing. No matter what level of success I'm at, no matter if I'm speaking at a conference, I'm talking to you, you know, if I'm in front of a new client, if I'm in front of an older client, if I'm in front of whoever, just meeting. I can't fake passion now.
Ooh, talk that talk, man.
And it's something, and it gave me purpose.
Yeah, passion is the big one. I think now it's like it's clear, you know, with a lot of these things that you're doing, you know, you gotta have that passion. The other thing that I know a lot of people struggle with is the consistency part of it. Can you talk about that a little bit? Like, how do you motivate your clients to remain consistent?
Because I teach them to be accountable to themselves. Because you're not doing this for me. It's first understanding what is your why. Right? Once you understand what that why is, that becomes a driving factor. That becomes a driving factor for change. And the change isn't the physical change. The change is going to be what's going on up top.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will say they hate working out. You know, they'll come in and tell me they hate working out. they'll only come and do it if it's with me. And then that changes to, well, I don't want to disappoint you, so I came in and worked out on my own.
Mm-hmm.
And that changes to, well, it actually makes me feel good.
Yeah, I just couldn't let myself down.
Exactly. So it's like there has to be an evolution. It's not an all or nothing process. And that's one of the things. It's like when you put that pressure on yourself to make it all or nothing, that's when you end up failing, and that's when you end up not liking it. And that's when it becomes something that I have to do. Versus like there's a switch that I turn on with people where they get to do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I get to do this. Like you said, when it was taken away from us, what did we all want to do? We all wanted to work out. Now people value it a lot more.
Yeah.
When they started seeing like, hey, you know what? A lot of folks are passing away from the C word because preconditions.
Yeah.
If I was to make myself healthier, guess what? I physically arm myself in a different fashion.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a period of time like where everyone is going to have that breakthrough, but it takes time. It takes time and it takes consistency. It takes consistency on my part in order to get other folks to be consistent. It takes patience. It takes motivation. So not everyone, I know there's a saying, well, you should naturally be motivated. Not everyone's going to be motivated. It's the truth.
Definitely not.
And I have to have the ability to meet people where they're at.
Yeah.
If I'm able to meet people where they're at and I slowly bring them along, I just need you to do this one thing. That's it. I give people a lot of times when people like, you know, come and see me, especially like you saw like in the gym, everyone was changing.
Yeah.
Like everyone could physically see my work walking through the gym.
Yeah.
Right. And you can tell who was my clients when you went inside the weight room.
1000%.
You know what I'm saying? And people would constantly be talking to those people. So they became walking billboards,
Mm-hmm.
right? And a lot of business was generated in that fashion. But what ended up happening was that a lot of these folks, because because of their journey and the fact that like, you know, people could see it over time, you know, they just started asking questions. With a lot of these folks that would come to me, you know, like I want to do a diet like this person right here, and I want to do the training and this and that. And I'm like, all right, cool. Like they sign up for training and they're like, hey, I'm ready for my diet. All right, this week you're just going to drink extra water.
Mm-hmm.
How much water do you drink? I don't drink any water, but yeah, I want all the food, and I want to do keto, and I want to be a vegan, and I want to be low carb and high carb on the same exact day. And I'm like, all right, well, we'll do all that. But first, I need you to have 64 ounces of water every single day. Once you can do that, then I'll give you step 2.
Mm-hmm.
And it would, and you can see like it would, with some people, it would irritate them to the point of them actually doing it and becoming so consistent with it because they wanted to get to step 2.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like those little things is what allows people to be successful. You just got to set these little goals and be consistent with that little goal. If it means like, you know what, like I never work out, but I just worked out once this week, and the next week I'm working out one more time. Guess what? You made 100% improvement. You have to start to give yourself a little bit more credit, give yourself a little bit more time. And then over time, you're going to develop these habits that are just going to stick with you.
Yep.
It's got to stay with it.
100%. Another thing too that I know a lot of people struggle with in this same, you know, topic is what do you do with all the distractions? For you too, like, you know, you're a business owner, so you still got to manage your business. You still got to maintain your online presence. You still got to maintain your business presence. You still got to contact people, and you still got to learn. You still got to do a bunch of different things, right? So this is for your case. So you're dealing with a lot more distractions than someone who is only responsible and, you know, maintaining their fitness journey, right? Maintaining their health. So what do you tell someone in terms of like the distraction? And some of them, they're not going to admit it, but you go online right now, you interact with, let's say Gary's training video, then Instagram or whatever algorithm starts to send you a bunch of different training videos. Now you've sat there, instead of going to the gym, you've sat there for 3 hours and you're looking at different training videos and all that. So you're on YouTube now watching a full workout. And then next thing you know, you just lost 3 hours of your time. And now you're no longer going to the gym. So it's like, what do you do as far as like that distraction?
One, go get on the treadmill and do that.
Yeah.
If you can sit down and you can watch the video, what's the difference with you walking and watching the video?
Yeah.
Or on the bike. Or on the bike. Do something. Just start. That's the main thing, is just to start. Get in the habit of getting up and just going. Even if it means just going for a walk. Even if it means taking 5-10 minutes. Like I just have people take 5-10 minutes and just meditate. Breathe. Take a second to breathe. Take the opportunity to look at this in a different fashion. So meaning that instead of looking at it as, well, I need to go to a workout and go kill myself, and oh my God, look at this person on IG, I'm not going to be able to do what they do. Like,
speaking of, I've been seeing some of these IG videos, and these are people that are actually like promoting their business as a trainer and all that stuff. And I'm starting to get real tired of seeing some of them, because I'm like, what exactly are you selling right now? Like, I've seen some people doing these insane combinations of exercises, and I'm just like, what exactly are you selling right now? Like, at some point,
why you say that is because you know better, but a lot of people don't know better.
Exactly. And now that I have you on this, right? I have this question, because I've been asking myself these questions when I look at these videos. Is there such a thing as unnecessary workouts?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for clarifying.
There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out there that's like you don't need to do. A lot of stuff is extra for the average person walking into the gym. And this is what's scary, is because a lot of folks will watch this stuff, and then they'll start to think about themselves. When I used to play football, and when I used to, back in the day, and then they'll go in and try this stuff and snap themselves up. We watch it all the time. Like, literally snap their back up. And it's one of those things, like, that's why, like, with me, I don't do the gimmicks. Like, I put out information. I have more than enough clients. So what I like to do is I just put out information, because I'm not out there utilizing it. Let me take that back. I utilize it to promote my business, but I utilize it to promote doing things the right way. So what I try to do is I put out stuff that's going to be geared towards educating people in the right fashion.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about gimmicks, because the people that want the gimmicks, those aren't the people that are going to want to train with me. The people that want the knowledge, and the people that want to do things the right way, and they want to be coached properly, they want to be pushed properly, not just run into the ground, but actually coached in a fashion where you're pushing yourself, but there's application of science behind it. Those are going to be the people that want to train with me.
Yeah.
And that's why I put out information in the fashion that I do.
Yeah. I always appreciate seeing them. I make sure every time I tune in to listen, because I always have this sense of like, almost like what the old heads nowadays do when they hear like an old verse or like an old song from the 90s or something. Like, this is what music is. I look at your videos and I'm like, this is what a trainer or a coach is supposed to be putting out. I'm telling you, man, I see these videos, and a lot of times I clean out my algorithm. I clean out my Instagram a lot of times, and I hate that Instagram is pushing a bunch of like suggested stuff to people from all kinds of faces of the earth and everything. But I try to make sure, like, every time I see them, because I see these people sometimes like showing videos, like, for example, like these wild workouts to build lateral strength. Like, okay, I can see, I can see why that could be necessary, like if you're an athlete and stuff like that. But the stuff they're doing is just like, I'm like, you can't tell me that this is actually going to help anyway. Like, there's just no way. There's just no way this is actually building strength in any way, shape, or form at all. Like, it's like some of them, you're just coming up with stuff now at this point. Like, you're just bored in the gym. People who don't know better, like you said, they just jump in and they eat all that stuff up. And then now the insecurity starts settling in. more of that starts piling on. Because when they look at these people and they see they're shredded, they've got all these like good, aesthetics and stuff like that, and then they look at themselves and like, I'll never be like that. Now it becomes more about them looking like those people rather than them simply feeling better about themselves.
And this is the thing too, without realizing that some of them might be enhanced. Nothing wrong with it. But some of them might be enhanced.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them might have had surgeries.
Of course.
Especially, with not to generalize, but especially with the female population. Mm-hmm. A lot of them might have had surgeries, and you're looking at something that may not be attainable because you're not going to go on these mics.
Yeah.
But you're comparing yourself to something that is not necessarily attainable without going through that type of process.
Yep.
So yeah, there's a lot that's out there, and that's why it's really important. Like if you're in health and wellness, is to be on the trend of truth. Mm-hmm. Like stay away from the gimmicks, be on the trend of truth, do people a favor, and do the right thing. I know majority of people got into the industry to be able to help people. Some people got into it just to be able to hustle and make some money. But there's a major difference when you stand, like if I'm in a gym and you stand with that person right next to you, mm-hmm. and you're watching someone who knows and someone who's knowledgeable, coach and train, versus that other person who's just all about the gimmicks, mm-hmm. all about the imagery. I'm going to sell you what I look like instead of selling you on what I know.
Yeah. I tell people a lot of times, like, I've been on a personal journey for a while now. And because of that, I've been able to really disconnect with a lot of things, right? Like when I started training with you, or before I started training with you, I think I had just finished a 3 months, no alcohol journey, right? So yeah, this is 2018, and I just decided to do that because I was like, you know what, this is like something I wanted to challenge myself with and everything. And then we did the training session and everything. So all of those things was like different challenges that I was taking on in my life without anyone actually telling me to. So because of that, I also did a 3 month social media break. And because of that, now I'm able to really disconnect myself from that fake world on social media. And unfortunately, that's not the case for a lot of people. And I think some of these people know that. And that's why they continue to pile on all these like fake reality, this metaverse situation where they come in and they teach you these or they show you these really intense workout that they're doing. And it's like, I always go back to thinking like, who exactly, or what are you doing this for exactly? Or who are you trying to attract in your business? Or like, if this is your actual business model, like if this is how you're thinking, how do you even get clients?
I mean, a lot of it is just for entertainment. Like people want to be entertained.
Yeah.
Because it passes, it passes time. 2, it allows them to escape from the reality of their own personal lives. So a lot of what social media is just, the entertainment. You as an influencer, I don't consider myself to be an influencer on social media, but an influencer in real life.
Yeah.
Right? But you as an influencer have the opportunity to educate and influence in the right way. And it doesn't matter if it's like, if 10 people get the message, 10 people get the message. Know that you did what you're supposed to do. You couldn't finish out there the way that you're supposed to. Don't get me wrong. There's like fun skits and there's, times when there's, time to be entertaining, but there's a large amount of time where you're supposed to be educated, especially when it comes to like health and wellness. Mm-hmm. These are people's lives. If you really take a step back and you take a look at what you're doing, you have to realize that you are impacting somebody's life. Yep. So if you're putting out the wrong type of messages, then how are you actually making a positive impact?
Yeah.
You're not.
I'm happy to have gone on this journey where I'm able to disconnect from these things. And I know people struggle with that. And of course, a lot of people say, oh, no, well, I don't do that. Like no, you are actually sitting there and like deep down, like you're in the back of your mind, you are sitting there. If you're consuming this thing every single day, eventually something is going to start asking you, like something is going to start speaking to you. Damn, I want to actually look like this person. Wonder what they did to get to this point. Or you look at the exercise they're doing and you're like, I would never, ever do that. What does that translate to? I will never, ever look like him or her. Mm-hmm. And the next thing you know, bam, now you feel hopeless. Because you go to the gym, or say you went to the gym earlier, and what did you do? You did some curls. You actually didn't even want to go to the gym today. But you did, and you only stay there for like 20 minutes. But you feel hopeless because you didn't do an intense workout like such and such on Instagram was doing.
That's the importance of just having the right type of guidance and, working with a coach. So if anyone, feels that way, definitely reach out. There's a better way. And a lot of it is going to start with, how you view yourself.
Yeah.
And how you view this process. This process is about yourself. You start making your own personal journey about other people. That's what's boss. And that's a lesson in life. That's not just about fitness. If you make what you're doing about someone else and you trying to compare yourself to somebody else, you trying to attain what someone else has, you're not doing it for the right reasons.
Mm-hmm.
You have to really get to the point of being able to really define who you are by what you're personally doing, and not by what someone else may think of you, what someone else, views of you. I've spent a lot of time, where I've done the same, where I took a long hiatus. If you notice, I haven't posted in a long time. Why? Because I was too busy working on my business.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Too busy working on other businesses that I have.
Yeah.
So it didn't allow me the time to be able to post all the time and update people all the time. Now that I have a better system and I have more time, now I'm able to post on a more regular basis. And there's nothing wrong with that, because I could look at someone else and be like, oh my God, they post every single day and they get the opportunity. They're showing people what they're doing. My business isn't going to grow. But I took a step back and I really reflected. I have more clients than I did last year. I have more clients now than I did last month.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Because I have good business.
That's the best way to put it. Talk to me about 3 major lessons that you've learned throughout this journey of yours.
So, number 1 is you can't make stuff up. You can't fake truth. People are going to see through it and they're not going to believe you. If you are doing this, you really have to live this and you really have to love this in order to really do it and be successful. Because there's going to be a lot of times where you may doubt yourself, a lot of times where things may not work out your way. A lot of times where, I know when someone's first starting off, it takes time to build up your client base, especially if you're new and you're going to be doubting yourself. So if it's not something that you would hustle for free, then you're not going to get to the point of actually really getting paid well for it.
That's
you really got to live this.
You can't fake fashion, like you said earlier. You can't fake fashion.
Exactly. Another thing is understanding that this is about sales. Like you're constantly selling yourself. It's not being a salesman, like I'm selling a car.
Mm-hmm.
But you constantly have to be selling. If you're not selling, I know a lot of people say, well, I hate sales. Well, then you're going to be broke.
Yeah.
Nobody gets into any business to be broke.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't learn to love sales, then you're not going to be able to do this. And one of the things with selling and what allows you to be able to stand out and be confident is that you have a product that's powerful. One of the coaches I work with, he would say the most important thing are the 3 P's: power, people, process. So you have a process that is undying and unwavering. I don't care what it is. If you do kettlebells, or if you just work with a specific demographic, you have to have a system around it. And it has to be something that is adaptable, but then it's also something that it's yours. You own it. Right? Not to say you can't borrow from other people, but you borrow so that you can create a system where you're able to actually coach people in a specific way. Like you said, when you walk into the gym, my clients work. Right? You process, right? So power, people, process. Yeah. Process is the system. Power, right? I have an undying, unwavering belief that I have the ability to change anybody that I work with. I have the ability to change their life. I have the ability to change their mindset. I have the ability to make them realize what their true potential is. There's a power behind what I do. There's a power behind my process. And with that, people are going to be attracted to that.
They're going to tell more people, and more. They're going to tell their friends, and they're going to bring them on because they want them to feel the same way that they felt too.
And that's the key to the sales. Power, people, process. That's it right there.
Yep.
Now, if you really hone in on that and you master that, then you're never gonna feel like I'm selling something that someone doesn't need. You're selling them something they need, and you're selling them something they want. Like I would, with one person, this is how people trust me. One person will come to me and be like, "Well, you need to train 3 days out of the week," and they go talk to their friend. And their friend is like, "Well, Garry told me I only need to train once a week." Well, how come you told them once and you told me 3? Because you're not where they're at. It's this. So there was a trust behind, like, I wasn't just trying to sell people stuff. I was giving you a recommendation based upon, my expertise and based upon me assessing you and understanding where you're at with help, understanding where you're at from a knowledge standpoint, that this is my recommendation, that you need to do this. This is what's going to allow you to be successful. It's not about me getting a certain dollar amount. It's just about, this is what's going to allow you to be successful. It's about that person. You're in the business of relationships, so you have to really learn to love sales.
Yeah.
And then quieting the noise. That's going to be number 3. Right? So you have to be able to quiet the noise that's inside of your head. That tells you you're not good enough. That tells you that person on IG is better than me. That tells you that, I'm not going to be successful. Quiet the noise of other people that may tell you that this isn't really a career, or that may tell you that how you gonna be able to have this as a business, or that may, when you step into other avenues. Like I know myself, like when I went ahead and, when I initially started off talking to people about, me doing other things like in real estate and, other businesses, all this stuff. Like, oh, you're just a trainer. So people try to pigeonhole me into being one thing. And it's like, no, I spent 20 years in business. I spent 20 years working on building relationships with people. I spent time in communications.
Yep.
I understand profit and loss. I understand marketing. I understand photography. Not necessarily how to take every single picture, but I understand how to direct.
Yeah.
I understand angles. So how can you tell me that I'm just a trainer?
People would love to put people in boxes.
Exactly.
They love to do that.
Or even real estate, like, how you gonna invest? Or who taught you that? No, I acquired knowledge. No one sat down and taught me anything. I acquired knowledge. I might have tapped in with other people, but in order for me to be able to apply that knowledge, guess what? I had to research even more. I had to come to a greater understanding for myself so that now I can go ahead and I can source my own deals. I know how to look at property. I know how to assess property. I know how to fix the property. Like I'm understanding it. I'm in a process now where I'm trying to understand it at the same level of what I understand training. And if I mastered the training field, why can't I go into your field and master your field? Because I have a different type of heart. I never look at challenges. I never look at obstacles and say, I can't do this.
Yep.
I look at it and I say, well, this is the plan to do this. If there's a fourth one, I would say have a plan. Always have a plan. You gotta have a plan. If you don't have a plan, it's easy to move in any single direction. It's like it's a difference between if right now, if you want to go ahead and let's say drive to Florida, there's a difference between driving to Florida, hopping in my car and just driving versus me turning on that GPS. You gotta have a plan.
Yeah, I love the third lesson. And just to reiterate, the first one, can't fake passion. Second one, and you're still selling you're selling yourself as a business. You're selling yourself as a mentor. You gotta sell your relationship. Anything about what you're teaching is a selling point. And the third one being quieting the noise. And like, I really like this one because you gotta be able to quiet down that noise, because otherwise you're not gonna achieve anything.
Everybody has a starting point. It's like the first time you went to go drive a car, you did. It wasn't like you Dave Andretti and you doing 190 miles an hour. Like you probably hit the brake a million times, jerk your head back and forth.
Yep.
Like almost ran into stuff. Like that's the journey, and that's the process. That's what allows you to look back and be like, dang, when I was 16, I was terrible. But what's going to happen is, 10 years from now, what's it going to look like if I stay consistent? And that's where the mindset of like, stay with it. Like I would say that so many things that I would say when we're training, is so that the brain starts to change. When I would say stay with it, it wasn't about the set. It was about life, man. Like if you're gonna quit on this set, then when things get tough, that defines you as a person.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people will say, well, it's not exactly the same. Guess what it is? Because it's a reflection of what you do in the rest of your life. When things get tough, I gotta quit. Oh, I'm tired. I gotta make an excuse. Now, what if you just go do that thing?
Yeah.
Because you supposedly want it that bad, and at the end of the day, you're here to make an impact. Like I'm not too big to get on anybody's podcast. I'm not too big to have a conversation with anybody. And I'm not gonna put myself down where it's like if I'm in a room full of people that are millionaires and I'm there all the time, that I have to keep sitting in those rooms. Why? Because at some point, those people are going to become my peers. But if I constantly put myself in a position where it's like, well, I don't want to be there.
I don't belong.
I don't belong, and I'm uncomfortable. How do you expand your horizons? You got to get uncomfortable to become comfortable within something.
Yeah.
So your journey is your journey. Your process is your process. And like I said, that's tunnel vision. That's blocking out the noise. I'm not looking at anybody else because I'm here starting my process right now. And I'm here doing it in the capacity that I know I can do it. A lot of folks may be starting off their journey and them hearing, yo, I doubted myself, but I'm just doing it right now. And I don't have everything figured out. But guess what? At some point, I gotta stop practicing and I gotta get in the game.
Yeah.
If I get my butt whooped, who cares? There's another game and another. And then guess what? There's a whole other season that I can go through that I just learned from all those other games that I got my butt whooped. Next season, I'm coming back different.
Yeah. Let me ask you one last few questions here. Why is it that people just give up on life the way they do and the way they have? And I say this because it's like a lot of the things we're talking about, when I hear the way people break these things down and the way they talk about themselves in this sense and the way they come up with excuses and deflect and push over and do all that kind of stuff, like the common theme that I can hear from that is like people just don't care about themselves that much. Why do you think that is?
I think in part because people haven't healed from a lot of traumas that were inflicted upon them. So if you have gone through anything, and I know for myself, like, I didn't view myself differently until I really healed from different things that I've been through in life. And I wasn't able to help anybody else out until I got to the point of really being able to help myself.
Yeah.
And until you do that, like it takes a lot. It's a process, man. And it can be emotional also too. It takes a lot to look at yourself and be like, hey, you know what? Like, I'm not happy with where I'm at. Let me understand why I'm not happy with where I'm at. Like, I've had, sessions with people where they broke down into tears doing a workout. And they would come out as, oh, this is too hard. You're pushing me too much. And then it would turn into what was really going on.
Mm-hmm.
My day was this. My boss was this. My boyfriend was this. My house situation is this.
Childhood, my parents,
childhood.
all of that.
Yeah, and it's like, you got to be able to tap in with yourself and get to that point of true honesty. Like, you have to be open. Like, you got, like, I call it, I got to be naked. Because that's the only time, like, where you're truly vulnerable. And when you get to that point of being able to be vulnerable, but then being okay with someone trying to chip away at your armor. And I'm still standing. Because if the journey didn't kill you, if it didn't crush you now, why are you gonna crush yourself? If life didn't destroy you up until this point, like, why are you gonna sit there and talk bad about yourself? Why are you gonna sit there and put yourself into a bubble? Why aren't you gonna look at yourself and be like, hey, you know what? The best part of me is that I survived.
Right.
You know
and I learned from these things too.
Yeah, most definitely.
Appreciate that. And it's good to hear that too, because like I said, I've seen and I've had many conversations where really it's like sometimes, like, I tell people too, like, in a parallel life, I'm a psychologist or like a therapist or something. So at times I really want to ask them the question, like, what's really going on? Like, I really want to dig deep and find out. But it's like in the settings and all that kind of stuff, like, you end up just kind of like, okay, you understand them and you kind of let them go with how they're breaking it down, or you really just tell them, like, if you really wanted to do this, you could do it. Or so my favorite one is, like, every excuses I hear, I give them a different way of fixing it, right? It's like, okay, all right, cool, I understand that, but here's how you can get past that. And the common theme every time is, like, people, they are really interested in bettering every aspects of life in general, except their own.
So they, with a lot of those people, I've encountered, like, a lot of folks like that. And again, it goes back to, how hard is it to be honest with yourself? It is hard. It's hard to look at yourself and be like, hey, you know what? These are the areas that I need to improve in. A lot of folks, either because of ego, or a lot of times it's because of ego, is that they are not willing to break themselves down like that to build themselves back up. So they'd much rather stay the same. They'd much rather have another distraction, that's going to take them away from doing the things that they need to do to improve themselves. Because if you actually do that, guess what? You'll be able to help 10,000 more people, because you're doing it in a state of clarity. You're doing it in a state of understanding, what is my actual role in this? How can I actually make an impact? Like, a lot of folks, like, and I spent a lot of time, for helping my girlfriend to document all these different protests. And at the end of it, now that we're 2 years later, what did you do? Like, everyone that was out there, you have to take a look at yourself and say, what did I do?
Yeah.
How did I make an impact? If you weren't able to actually change yourself, your impact was very minuscule. Because the impact that you can make by changing yourself, changing yourself is going to change your environment. It's going to change the people that are around you. And if you start with one person that's around you, now that one person can talk to somebody else. And that's where the mindset of paying it forward comes from. So I know for myself, like my other ventures, that I'm interested in, and the other things that I'm doing right now, I'm on the path to be able to do that on a greater level. Even, in the next year, my main emphasis is going to be continue to network and to, grow Sinew Fitness as a whole, but then grow it into other industries and grow it into other ventures within health and wellness and other ventures within real estate investing also.
Yeah.
I know, in the next 5 years, there's going to be a core, 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a large aspect of what I'm doing that's going to be on the developmental side of real estate that incorporates this type of change, that incorporates creating a legacy. And that's really what the goal is. Like, I have a plan in mind. I started off, again, just with one property and just taking a chance, using it as an opportunity to learn. You got to invest. Yeah, you got to invest. Like, you can't, like, a lot of people want to learn, but then they don't want to invest.
Right. Or take a chance on themselves too, because that's the other thing too. You got to be able, because sometimes that's when the noise starts to get loud. Like, you start hearing like, no, you can't do this. No, you're not good enough. You need to learn more. Nah, you need to go on YouTube and look. Nah, you're not going to be able to afford this. Nah, you're not going to. You start hearing all these noise. All these noise start to pop in left and right. You don't know what's true, what's not true. And then what you end up doing is you don't take a chance on yourself.
No, and that's where it's like people get stuck. They get stuck. It's like being in quicksand. And it's like, all right, should I go this way? Should I go this way? Sometimes it's just about, just get out. Like, don't make it overcomplicated. Just get out, because you're about to sink. So sometimes it's like, you know what? Like, I'm going to have a plan and I can keep planning. But at some point, I just got to throw myself in there, because it's just about being adaptable, and it's about evolving, and it's about learning. I planned everything perfectly. I did all my numbers. I figured out all my profit and losses, but different things come up. So I got to be adaptable.
Yep.
If you're not adaptable, if you're not willing to evolve, if you're not willing to say, hey, you know what? I had this perfect thing and I'm going to scrap it because this other thing came on that is more along the lines of what I need to do in order to get me to my goal. Always having the goal in mind, not just deviating and changing for the sake of change, but if it's going to be something that pushes you closer to goal, don't be so narrow-minded and say, I'm just going to focus on this one thing. It's like people that, in health and wellness, like everyone, squat, bench, deadlift. I work with people that have no limb. So how am I going to squat, bench, and deadlift? So what are you talking about? What are you talking about? That's the best,
Yeah.
I worked with people that just came off of heart surgery and back surgery and all that. So what do you mean I'm going to do that max effort and see how far they can jump and sprint and all that? That don't make no sense.
Yeah.
So you gotta be adaptable and understand what situation that you're in, who you're working with, what you're working with, and be able to, have a plan in mind, but have that plan be flexible.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you see yourself in your business in the next 1, 3, and 5 years?
Next year is focusing on partnerships. What I do realize is, like I said, like I am interested in other industries, but I initially want the partnerships that I have a couple of things lined up. I want the partnerships that I have to be able to feed off of Sinew Fitness. Continue to learn within real estate investing as a whole, and continue that process. My goal ideally is to get one property a year. So far, I'm doing well with that goal.
So next year would be another property?
Ideally, yeah. Next year is going to be another property. And then evolve the business I don't want to give out too much, but I'm evolving the business to incorporate some of the things that I'm doing within real estate investing. So once I'm at that point, like I just believe like a lot in kind of moving in silence, right? So until you get there, you're not speaking about that thing. You just got to keep grinding, put your head down, do the work. You know? So yeah, I want to in the next 3 years have a component of that involved with the real estate investing. And then in the next 5 to 10 years, that's where I'm really going to develop the legacy side of things that's centered around the health and wellness, real estate. That's really going to make an impact in future generations and in community as a whole.
Right. And so that goes into 3 to 5 years.
Yeah. So that would be, so that last aspect of it is going to be 5 to 10 years. Okay. Because that piece of it is like a very large project. It's it's the thing that I'm most passionate about doing. It's going to be a very, very large, and it's going to involve like me needing a lot of help. Yeah. Me tapping into a lot of resources, and just really putting everything into this thing. Yeah. But until there's all those little steps that I have to take prior, within real estate, with developing these partnerships. I want to have product also too. So that's part of what I'm working on with some of the different deals that I'm doing right now is developing more product and developing more partnerships around product, because it's one thing to have the fitness side of things where it's like I'm coaching and I'm doing virtual training, I'm doing some training in person. That's always going to be a service. You need to be able to have product also. Yeah. So that's where, in the next year, I'm really focusing a lot of my energies on is being able to have those partnerships where I have more tangible just product to sell and to be able to provide.
All right. And final question, man, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you?
10, brother.
Ooh.
Blessed, man. I'm blessed. Like, every day breathing is a blessing. The amount of people that didn't make it in the past 2 years, man. Like, I recently, one of the guys that I went to high school with was 38, and he had huge impact on the community. Like, huge. Everybody knew him, and he's such a genuine, such a good person. 2 kids, he just died of a heart attack.
God.
38 years old. Asian.
Yeah. I said this recently, like, one of the craziest realizations that I made at this point in life is like, when you start hitting 30, death is like, you start getting like acquainted with death, because that's when you really start to lose people. Because when you're younger and you're growing, it's like, you got those accidents, like, yeah, that's fine, tough luck, whatever, like street violence and all that kind of stuff. Like, you get accustomed to those things. But it's not often that you start to hear like such and such grandfather, grandmother, or mom, dad, or older brother, younger brother, cousin this, cousin that, and aunt. All these people, because they're all getting up in age, health issues, all that stuff starts to pile up, and it's like, damn, that's really the one thing that you can't really prepare for unless you made that realization early on. And even then, you're not going to be able to get familiar with it.
I mean, this whole entire, like, how close it was, and just age-wise, like, I had, even, during the pandemic, my uncle passed away. And it's just like, Yeah, man. It was one of the things that just like shook my whole entire family.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he was such a staple and like, you know, patriarch in the family, and just like, it just shook my whole family. And, you know, even, you know, my cousin, his brother passed away younger than me.
Mm-hmm.
I've had clients, you know, one of my clients from workout world, you know, that I was training during the pandemic, she passed. You know, another client that I, you know, was training off and on for the past 6 years, she passed.
Oof.
Like, it was just, I had the blessing of having a business and everything was going so well. And like, I was just like, man, like, all these stories of all these people passing during the pandemic, like, I was just like, like, I felt so fortunate. And then it was all of a sudden, it was just one after another. And it was just like, man, it just got to the point where like, I was like, can we just get a break? Like the emotional side, like, I was always up because I'm just a believer in like, I have to keep my energy up. Maybe, I mean, that's also too something that I've learned to work on too, because it's like, I realized that, hey, you know what, like, it's okay to have off days. It's okay to, you know, to not be perfect in every single response and not be perfect in every single endeavor of life. Like, there's too much pressure to put that on you. And it's okay to have a full spectrum of emotions.
Mm-hmm.
So this year, I mean, I could say this year I shed more tears than I've ever shed. And
Right.
just thinking about all that, and it's just one of those things like where, again, like, for when people ask me, I'm just like, man, I'm blessed, yo, because it's reality is a lot of folks around me didn't make it.
Yeah, and you did.
And I did, yo. So what can I could breathe tomorrow, yo. A lot of people can't. I got a meal. Even when I'm in PR, I'm like, there's a lot of folks like, you know, here that they make 25 grand a year, but they walk around with this smile on their face.
Biggest smile, man.
and I'm like, what can I complain about? You know what I'm saying? I got my mother, I got my family. My family is amazing. I have such a solid family, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have, you know, an opportunity to do something that I dreamed about since I was a kid of doing. And I've been working in that field for 20 years. So I step back and I'm like, all right, yo, even on a bad day, I'm still blessed. So even on a bad day, I'm still happy. It's a bad moment in time. Tomorrow when I wake up, I get to count my blessings, because a lot of folks don't get to wake up.
Dope. And I really appreciate you for breaking all this down and really sharing everything about your journey, about, you know, your current schedule and how you're balancing life, and, you know, the lessons you learn, and even just like your goals and the goals you set up for yourself, and how passionate you are about life in general. Like, I'm amazed right now, man. And like, I really appreciate you for doing this and for giving me this opportunity to really ask you all these questions and really allow, you know, give you this platform to share your story, not only with me, with, you know, anyone else that could be listening to this right now. Anything else you want to add? Anything else, you final words or anything?
I mean, I appreciate this also. You know, it gives me the opportunity just to, you know, just to catch up. This is a regular conversation that we normally would have anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just recording it. And then two, you know, I've seen your growth. You know, I try to promote your businesses as much as I can. You know, this is one of the things is like, if you have a friend, if you have a family member, support that person's dream, support that person's business.
Mm-hmm.
Stop asking for a discount on everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you had your merch, said, Garry, can you do a shoot for me? Yeah, I did a shoot, and then I bought everything there.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because I want to see you be successful. You know, and that's the purpose of us doing small businesses. That's the purpose of knowing people and networking. And it's like, if you really want to, you know, support, it's easy to give a follow. It's easy to give a like. It's easy to give a shout out. Anytime I'm rocking your stuff, I do a video, I repost and I tag. Why? Because I want to see you grow. And it's easy for us to do that. If we continue to have that type of mindset, then guess what will happen? There'll be 100 Black and brown CEOs that have created 100 Black and brown entrepreneurs, that now become millionaires, and we're all promoting each other's businesses. We have to grow together. We have to network together. Taking the time to do this podcast is another opportunity for me to support what you're doing. It's another opportunity in exchange for me to promote, my businesses and what I'm doing. So yeah, I feel fortunate to be able to do that. And with that being said, if anybody is interested in training, talking about their goals, talking about health and wellness, if you got medical issues, if you have, anything that you want to work on from a physical standpoint, don't hesitate to reach out. I do consultations with people. I just like to talk to people, period, about health and wellness. Yeah. So even if you don't feel like, obviously I want everyone to train. I would love to be able to work with as many people as I could. And I'd like to be able to work with pretty much everyone that reaches out to me, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it right now. It doesn't mean that, you have to get yourself into shape before you can talk to me, or you have to
create a schedule,
create a schedule.
Consistency already.
That's my job. It doesn't mean that you have to, feel like you need to buy right now. I work with people that want to work with me, and I work with people that have the opportunity to work with me. And I'm more than happy with my schedule. I'm more than happy with the clientele that I have. I'm always willing to work with more people, but it's not like that for me. I really want to make an impact. So, especially now, I know a lot of folks are going through the holidays. They're getting ready, to set up their New Year's goals and all this stuff.
Yeah, New Year, new me. I'm going to start going to the gym and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
It doesn't need to be this whole entire celebration. You don't need to wait till the New Year to become a new person.
Yep.
Whatever you want to do, whatever you want to achieve, you do it right now. It starts right now. So you can do that. You can do that tomorrow. And guess what? The New Year's going to come. You're going to be more prepared for it in the New Year.
Yeah.
If anything that you want to do in life, do it. Because life isn't promised. Life is short. No days are promised. If you want to make any type of change, if you want to make any type of impact, if you have a goal in mind, if you have a vision in mind for yourself, do it. Chase that thing. Yep. You're never gonna be disappointed by investing in yourself. You either learn or you achieve, one or the other.
Take a chance in yourself.
You gotta bet on yourself. Anyone that wants to reach out health and wellness wise, Sinew Fitness, you can follow me on all platforms. I'm on, I also have a website, www.sinewfitness.com. Even businesses also too. I help businesses out, with planning. Younger trainers, coaches that are looking to set up their businesses. I help with mentorship. I also do consulting services if you're looking to put a gym in your house, if you're looking to start any type of health and wellness programming, any companies, they can reach out to me too. I have a vast knowledge base. I've been doing this for 20 years. I love living and breathe this 20 years working in the field, not 20 years just working out, 20 years working in the field, being employed. It's a lot different. So education plus experience. It's a lot different.
Absolutely. And I'll be sure to put in all those things in the description as well, in the notes, and even on my social media when I post for this, this episode and promote this episode. And once again, man, thank you. Appreciate you for joining me and having this conversation. Like you said, this would have been something that, because I know me and you, we usually have a catch up conversation every so often. And it's usually no less than about 2 hours, because we're usually catching up on a lot of different things, and we're talking about a lot of different things. Because, like I said, you've inspired me in many ways. You've taught me a lot of things. You've put me in this position. You've helped me with a lot of different things. So I always make sure I check in and even if there's something like we still got to do another that follow-up shoot as well, actually. And even if it is something like, we gotta like, whatever it is that I can help, whether it's in something I know, something I learned. And trust me, I've always promoted. And like, I remember when you started working with BSC, I hated it because I had like 5, 6, 7, 10 different people who would always ask me like, oh, what are you eating? Who's working out? Because at that time I was at my peak fitness. I was walking around, people were like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, what's up? I'm like, I just got my trainer, all that stuff. Like, and people wouldn't see me either. So it was like, it made it even better. Because when they see that, like, they haven't seen you in 3 months, they're like, oh my God, what's going on with this guy? They're just stunned. And all of that is credit to you, man. So once again, thank you for joining me. And hopefully we can do this again. This is definitely not going to be a one-time thing because as you can hear, like, we have way too many things to discuss. Like, there's so many different aspects of this that we can really break down and really have like go in depth on that I'm definitely hoping that we can do this another time really soon. And yeah, and until then, man, I wish you the best of the best holidays. Hopefully everything goes well, and hopefully everything's continue to go well in your favor. With your life, your health, your family, your loved ones, everything in general, man.
I appreciate it, man. Same to you. Happy holidays. Keep grinding, keep pushing. I see what you're doing, and I see all the different people that you're tapping in with. More of this needs to be put out as a message. We just have to keep connecting and growing, and just trying to promote each other and just seeing each other grow. That's one of the best things that we can do to ensure each other's success.
For sure. And thank you, man.
All right, brother.